Well, welcome back to my studio. I've got all the background trees done now, and I showed you that in the very beginning of my video. Now I'm going to start working on the water. And I have a little bit done back in here, and I've saved my greens and colors from the trees because that's going to be a lot of my, down in here I've got reflections. I'm going to go ahead and put a base in here of, this is ultramarine blue plus my mud, which is 2 parts of ultramarine blue and 1 part of alizarin crimson, and then then 1 part of let me start over. My mud is 2 parts ultramarine blue and 1 part of alizarin crimson. I've added more ultramarine blue plus white into that mixture. So I just want to get my water covered. This then is ultramarine blue plus a little bit of mud plus white. And I just start bringing my color of my water down here. As the water gets closer to the foreground and the water continues over the side, let me come around and realize my hand is covering over what you see there. But I just get the side of the canvas covered. I paint that pretty thinly because I want that to dry fairly quick. And I'll go back and do more in that. But that just gets that canvas covered. Now I start bringing some of my blues down in here. I'm going to work carefully around his head. Get this covered. I want to get this all covered because I pull my reflections down into that blue. And then I'll work more lighter colors in here and as we get down this way. But first of all, I want to start getting my reflections in there. And you can see I've already pulled some reflections down in here. But now I'm going to work on these trees here. And this is some of my tree color that I saved. And I also bring my little bank, my rocks along the bank, reflect down in. See how you can just make those reflections. Now a little bit of light's hitting that bank there. So we're going to have a little bit of light reflect down into the water. This is called a bright brush, big square brush, and I can just use that, flat edge of that, to pull down into the water. So that gives me those reflections. I keep wiping my brush, you'll see. In order to good, nice color on your canvas is a clean brush, so I continually wipe my brush with bathroom tissue. And this is the cheapest tissue you can find. I just get whatever's the cheapest I can get in the grocery store. As Jack used to say, it's not fit for human use, but it's perfect for painting. And now, just using my colors left over from the trees, I start pulling those greens down in. I have a batch of lighter green there, so that brings my reflections down into the water. And by having that blue base there, that gives me just wet color that I can pull down into. So you want to do your reflections wet into wet. And just using the same color from the trees. There's some darks in there. I'll come over on this other side and pull my reflections down in there. Come around the canvas. There's a few little blue, little greens in there. Just some of those same colors that are used in the trees, I use in my reflections. So let's come around this side. pull my greens down in. And then I'm going to pull some of my rock color down over that. I've got a few little brush marks in there I want to pull out. Again, I just lightly hold the brush and pull straight down. You can see I've got my color on here. I want to smooth this dark into the lighter and then just get a little dark in there. Now this clump comes down into want to start, as we get up here, I want my colors to start coming into this blue. And here we start getting the light of the sky starting to come through. So I'm going to, this is cobalt blue plus white. I want to get this other side. And I just kind of break this over. Bring this down, all the way down, get that edge good and covered. And as we get closer to the foreground, the water becomes a little ripply. So, taking a clean brush, I just bring some of my greens, start kind of just bringing some little ripples across. But also, I want to take, now this brush is clean, and I just bring some brush strokes across the straight up and down vertical strokes. So you get the feeling of that water's moving a little bit. I'll bring some of my lighter color here. And going back up. Again, I can just take this is a clean brush. Make sure it's totally clean. And then I can just ripple that water. Just bring these strokes. And that just gets a feeling of a little movement in that water. Maybe a little breeze has come across. As we get back to at the base of the little edge of the shore back there, take a ultramarine blue plus white, and I just want a little like there's just a little bit of a breeze that's just coming across here. And then along this exact shoreline where the water hits the rocks, usually you have a little bit of debris and stuff catching along, and it catches the light. In fact, I'm going to use a thinner brush here. You can see where I've done that back here. The perspective's looks funny because the camera's at an angle to the canvas. But I just bring that little line across along the edge of the shoreline there. Again, and I do that all the way around the edge of the canvas. I want to make sure this lines up. And you don't want it continuous, you just kind of want it here and there. That just gives the feeling of the edge of that shore back there. Now I'm going to, this tree is light, so it's going to be reflecting down in here. And it's going to be, get some of that back and forth. Make this a little bit darker right here from that little shoreline. Paxton, I have to be very careful to paint around Paxton here because I don't want to obliterate my sketch, but I start bringing this color down just around him. And this is just the same mixtures that I used from the tree. These are mixes of my ultramarine blue plus cadmium orange plus cadmium yellow medium plus white. And this will come back. Oops, I just went over his a little bit. Okay, this is one of the reasons I sketched my painting up in the oil wash, because you can see where I went over my sketch. So I can take a clean brush with thinner on, just a tiny bit of thinner, and I can just erase that paint that's gone over my sketch, and my sketch remains because that's dry. And so I can lift that paint off of there and I keep my sketch. So I don't lose my sketch. And you have to, that liquid oil wash dries overnight. So once I get my sketch up there, then the next day it's perfectly dry and I can work around it. If I have to lift the color off of it, I can. And this is blues and greens, and this will give a nice background color for his skin tones, because blues are, the skin tones are basically oranges and reds, and the blues and greens are the complementary colors, so his skin tones will just really look good against this background of the water. The water in my reference pictures is more brown, but I'm making this a little, I'm really bringing the reflections, colors of the trees, and some blues in here. I want the water to be just a little bit prettier than just that brown. And then this is my phthalo blue plus some cadmium orange plus quite a bit of white, and that just gives me a nice blue-green, because the sun is hitting back there. And there's just a streak of sunlight back there on the water in the distance. And that helps give depth into the painting. I'm just going to increase that. But you can just see that sun just coming in. My sun comes in from the left. And then I'm going to bring this, get some of these blue-greens down in here from these trees. I can go back and move that paint out of there, or take the paint off of the sketch. And then this tree is going to also reflect down in. So this is just come straight down, and then we'll have some green coming in here. Look around his hand. So you can see how I can use the corner of that square brush to just work around and get finer detail. That's how I get my reflections and into the water. These will then be darker as we come around. Now Taggart's hair is red, so it's really going to just pop against this blue-green water back here. I want to kind of leave a little bit of, just a few little indications where my fishing line is in there, so I don't lose that. put some of this darker color down in here. Okay, this is a little bit of light here. And I'm just letting that light area come there, and then this will be darker. But that's how I block in the reflections. That gives you a real good idea. You just pull the reflection straight down. I like to work wet into wet, and you come back and make some cross strokes. Again, that just gives the feeling of movement in the water. This is going to come down. Again, my trees, so this will start showing a little more of this green, and I'm letting some of my blues intersperse in there. Because as we get closer, then the water will become more blue, because then the sky is reflecting down. I really appreciate you watching my YouTube videos, and please visit my blog where I show the complete step-by-step process of this painting, as well as others I do. And the link is in the description below. The address is also on the final frame of my YouTube video. So you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and happy painting.